Hi everyone, I'm Johanna Castro Banerjee, your early childhood educator, and I have been in the industry for around 8 to 10 years, and I am from the Philippines, and I am currently teaching here in Germany. So, my story comes from graduating in Mariano Marcos State University. In my college days, I was a scholar, an exchange student in my final year of practice teaching. I took my licensure examination and I flew straight to Singapore. I have spent my last few years in Singapore and I have learned so much which I am excited to share with everyone, and I am currently here in Germany teaching in the early childhood sector. Let's start with motivations. Pursuing a degree in early childhood education was never a plan of mine, but with fate, it took me to a path that I really enjoyed. And now thinking back, I can say to myself that I need to motivate myself and say that early childhood is the foundation of a person's life. The values, the morals, the way they behave, and everything that an adult is starts with childhood, and early childhood education shapes the future. Since I have shared that I didn't plan or it wasn't my dream to be an early childhood educator, but turns out it runs in the family. Surprise, surprise. My grandmother was an educator. My aunt was an educator. My mom was also an educator, but now she went to another direction, but she's still in her passion of teaching young kids and still reaching out and trying to teach and educate people. It's the same with like a lot of members of my family. So that's one why I am in the path of early childhood education, and I'm really loving it. It's really fun. All right. So here we are, the start of my early childhood education career. First is I would say that my career really began in Singapore. Singapore shaped me into the kind of educator that I am today, and I am still evolving. I am still moving. I am still learning. And I started in Singapore clueless, culture shocked, and I felt that I was out of my elements. And my career did have some rough patches, and eventually I learned how to go through the system, understood what is expected, evolved with the needs of different families and kids as well as my bosses and the curriculum. And I would say that I have gone through it and I am going through it again here in Germany. I'm at the beginning of the second part of my career. All right, let's talk about challenges. So, I have started my career in a totally different setting, in a totally different country, in a totally different culture. All right, kids are kids, but these kind of kids are different. One, there's language barrier, and then we have also different kind of beliefs and religion and all of those. So the main hurdle in the career is that when you are in the classroom, the number one thing that really like blocked most of my progress was patience. Being an early childhood educator requires a lot of patience because the moment you lose your in the classroom, everything falls. You need to be in your calmest possible self. You need to be the most open minded. You need to be the most empathetic person in the room because the a kid's world, everything revolves around you, your feelings, your emotions, your temper, all of it. And that is the number one hurdle that I had to get over in the beginning of my career. I was really impatient and I would tend to like raise my voice a lot. And in textbook you would say like, oh, let's have this career, and you would be like 1 2 3 eyes on me, but that doesn't really happen. So long story short, patience was the number one hurdle in my career, and number two was my education, or like my learning, my open-mindedness. Because stepping outside of the Philippines, it taught me that the culture of the other kids shaped them. Like when they are at home, how they are with you, how they behave, it will be similar like in the Philippines, like how a child at home is how they are outside. But the thing is, you need to understand the dynamics of the family itself. So this one, I learned how to socialize well, how to negotiate with parents, how to talk with them, and how to be really open-minded and like show up even if you don't feel like it. So that's the second hurdle for me in my career. And this is a very big step because the moment you know how to speak the language of the families, of each individual child, of each individual person that you are dealing with, your life would be much, much easier. Because when you speak their language, you would be able to express yourself more. Not what I mean is like you speak English to English. No. You need to know if this parent or this particular child needs the soft approach or you need to give them the firm approach because each child is different, each family is different, and everybody has their own unique one, and you need to be open minded. You need to be open to learning. You need to learn how to understand them and be in their shoes for you to be able to cater their expectations or their needs, because this family A might be very academic minded, while family B is very socially minded, while family C, they don't even care at all, or they just want their kid to be there just for the sake of being in school. So that is another hurdle, understanding people. And maybe the third one is culture, because in everywhere you go there are different kinds of culture, not just like the general culture but the workplace culture. You need to understand how this kind, like how things are. There are like procedures, proper procedures, how to do things. You need to document to make sure that you are always on the safe side, and there are a lot of things that you have to learn as an educator. And maybe one of the things is having a hardened stomach. Yeah, because A, you don't know what will be happening in the classroom. One day a child might vomit. Sorry, that's reality. One day the child might pee on themselves, or maybe they fall sick, they touch something, you don't know, and you put your hand in anywhere. You need to have that strong stomach because it's a must in the early childhood sector. I find them funny now because I have learned to toughen myself. And yeah, we have gloves. We have to learn to sanitize. Wash your hands and you'll be great. You'll be golden. Okay, fine. Okay, now I have gone through my hurdles. So let's talk about my most memorable experiences. And maybe there's one. The most memorable experience of mine was when my company in Singapore sent me to Dubai because it was an inter-country learning journey. So it was like a competition within like all within Singapore, like in our company. So there's like maybe 300 people who competed for it, and we have to go through project like maybe a month or 2 month long projects, if I'm not mistaken. And they will see which one is the most effective, which one has the best possibility of becoming a part of the new curriculum, which one is the most exciting, and which one is the most whatever their criteria was. And I need to note this down because our curriculum, or like the curriculum that I was doing it, was inquiry based. So this is the type of not of like approach where the kids build their knowledge. So I did this project about recycling and creating like a ship and having like a race through. It's about like combining STEM and earth friendliness, kind like eco-friendly kind of together. So green education, if you could say it like that. And it was a fun experience to be sent to another country, all paid by the company. And to be sent to another country and get into their centers and learn how they deal with different problems as well. Like maybe one is climate. It's in the middle hot center of the desert, and I have learned that they have some strategies and ways how they can keep when it gets too hot. They have activities indoors, and how they can make outside activities be done indoors, this kind of things. And of course the fun, just the fun of traveling and being in the desert. And maybe another one was that ECDA, or like you can say it's the equivalent of DepEd in Singapore. They approached me to work with them for like a promotion video, which was released the in the whole country. And this was only possible because I had good relationship with like my class parents. They agreed, and they were like honest and said that yes, this is how we work together with Miss Hannah, and this is the kind of relationship my child has with her. And it was a very memorable experience. I kind of felt like a star for a day when they released the video on all social media platforms. I felt so achieved because I knew that the hard work that I have given are recognized not just by the country, but the families and everybody that I have been working hard for. So I think so far that's my most memorable experience in Singapore, and so far here in Germany, everything is going well. And maybe when a parent comments that I really like how you are doing the class with my kids, or when they say like, oh, my kid loves you so much, they come home, they talk about you, those are like my daily wins, and they are always memorable for me. All right, so teaching philosophy. As a preschool teacher, I really like to view my learners individually and differently. They are all special, and they all have their own ways to teach them, to talk to them, to discipline them, to inculcate the values into them. They are all different, and being fair to everyone is by being able to address everyone's needs, not giving the same thing to everybody. So that is my philosophy. And in my teaching, I really like the approach of inquiry, where I guide and nudge the children, the learners, into the direction of the answer instead of providing the answer, because it allows them to think critically, they become curious, and they get more creative, and they become solution. They come up with solutions to problems, and a lot of genuine ways and innovative ways to problem solve. So yeah, that is my philosophy of teaching. So now for like the techniques in my room, the one that I really like to do is the ABC. When it comes to behavior or like behavior correction or helping kids when they do something wrong or they tend to misbehave. So one is A is the antecedent. All right. Antecedent is like what is the trigger, like what is the cause of the behavior, and B, behavior, like what is the showcase of it, like how are they showing it, and C is the consequence, like what are you gonna do about it. So let me share you how this happens. So let's child A and child B, they were playing nicely, so you walk away, you come back, you see child B, who is always hitting friends. And eventually he cries and throws tantrum when he doesn't get what he wants or something along that way. So, what is the antecedent? You need to understand, is child B, do they have needs, or are they verbal? Are they able to talk? Are they able to explain themselves? You need to consider that. And then B is the behavior. Is the behavior good or bad? In this case, let's say child B hit child A. So of course, that's not a good thing because we need to keep our children, our all learners, safe. So C, what is the consequence? What do you do about it? Of course, nowadays we have to be really mindful of like what we do because of course we don't want to be labeled as child abusers. So see the coincidence, the consequence. So maybe you would ask child B to like, I need you to calm down, I need you to sit down here, think about what you did, or maybe that is not what we do. When we misbehave, we take away the toys. You need to be consistent. And another C, you need to be consistent in doing that until eventually they will learn that pattern. So maybe next time he is playing, child B plays with any child and he hits the child. That means he will have a bit of a timeout. So he sits in a corner, give him some time off, or take away the toy. So you have to explain, I'm sorry, I have to take this toy away. You need to calm down. And eventually the child B will learn. And then maybe you say, what if you chose tantrum? Then that's another behavior. Then what you could do is when tantrums happen, like I said, your first hurdle, you need to be patient. When a child throws tantrum, leave the child to like one side, somewhere safe that they could express their emotions. As long as they're not hurting everyone or anyone, that is fine. Because at the end of the day, when the brain is in that state of high emotion, no matter what you say to the child, they will never listen because their prefrontal cortex, or the brain where you can reason with, has turned off. So no matter what you say, the child will forget it. The best one is that after everything that has happened, the child is calm, the child is in a happy state. Try to have a recall with the child, recall that moment, and then you talk about it, and then you tell what should do, right? Instead of telling you should not do, you tell what to do. And that is also the same. Another approach is that instead of saying no, you need to tell the child what to do instead. Instead of hitting, you can always say, be gentle. Show it as an example. So those are just a few tips that I have learned in my years of experience. Those are like the strategies and techniques that I use. So the kids in my class, for them to feel valued, included, and supported, is that, like I said, I give them individual time and I try to create a good rapport with them. I talk with them, I play with them, and every time they say, come with me or play with me, I would say that that is their language that I want to connect with you. So I would spend maybe a minute or like a few seconds with them. I would spare that because when I'm doing something, or maybe if I am really busy, I would say, let me finish this. I will get back to you. So I try to respond to each and every one of my kids, and I do start and initiate these conversations with them as well as that when they are with me. For our diverse learners, I need to understand what kind of learner they are. You need to be very keen and observant because you would see like some of them might be visuals because they cannot recognize names, they cannot recognize letters, maybe pictures, or some kind. And then maybe some of them are very good with music. They like to dance, they like to move. You try to understand the needs of each child, and that's how you are able to address how they can learn better and try to have a mix and match of them so they would feel more welcome and they would feel really a lot of belonging. And one thing that I really love doing is that bringing my lessons outside of the classroom, or like when the weather is fine, we spend time in the outdoors, play games outside, and learn the concepts through games, and maybe do the activities outside and come back inside for our table activities like maybe writing, drawing, or coloring or art. When it comes to professional accomplishments in the early childhood education, I would say that as an educator, like outside of the Philippines, there's a lot of ways that you could like upgrade yourself and through courses, I would say, and these are professional accomplishments because they allow you to be more aware in your classroom. And maybe if you want to step up, go for like leadership courses so you could become a principal or like in management someday. Yeah, so I feel like if you're talking about professional accomplishments, these are the ones. When I have seen my child, one of my learners who has this child has a social problem, okay? But the main lying condition was that this child has problem with language. So I worked with a special worker in way back in Singapore. So what happened was we worked with closely with this family, had termly meetings mostly every 2 months or a month. We would meet with the parents, with the special educator, and I would tweak my classroom lessons activities, pair up this child with another friend. So we were able to kind of like match up her skills, and eventually she's able to socialize and talk with her friends and able to share in our activities and lessons to the whole group. So yeah, that's one of the big successes when I was able to work with a child with special needs and be able to be a part of the mainstream classroom. Success is a broad general word, and for me as an early childhood educator, my successes are measured daily. Okay, so I measure them in small wins, I measure them in big wins, and one of the small wins that I have said is that when a child goes home and the parent come back to me and say like, my child has been doing this, what have you been doing in your room? Maybe child A is able to talk now, like in English because their mother tongue is not English. They're able to say please, thank you. They're able to be more polite, this kind of things. Those are like small successes. And like the big accomplishments is that when I'm able to complete all my documents, my evaluations, my observations. These are big successes for me. And maybe just a cherry on top is like when I enter a competition and I win something. So yeah, those are like some of like the successes that I would say, because there are other things that I also do other than just being an educator. And we try to have this kind of like life balance. So for me, these successes are enough for my professional side. Well, to be honest, a lot of my kids, like previous students, they come to me, they come back to me, they send me messages or like gave me mails that they have been doing great. They are like really well prepared. They are happy because we have learned them back in the classroom. And when I teach them, I give them the value of why we are doing it instead of like just telling them no. So that is what I would say, like their growth and development has been really holistic, because they themselves are able to realize like a few years later and still come back to me like, I am having fun doing this and I am successful because of this. And it's the same with the parents. They message me like, Miss Hannah, my child has become this received this award because he's able to do this, and we are really thankful that you have contributed so much to his growth and development. These kind of things. And the parents are always happy, and sometimes they even still come to me and ask for a few advice or share like some of their holidays, because they kind of miss me and being in the classroom, because we have a lot of fun. And their development has really like jumped when they went through me. So the problem with today and educators is that we don't get a lot of thank yous anymore. We do not feel that much appreciated, and that's really a downer. And the way that we get to be a bit more open is that we try to communicate with parents like much more, like maybe as much as we can, if when and if ever we see them, especially in the younger age group. When we see the a drop off or pickup, we try to talk to the parents, and of course say hi to the parents as well. So that's one of the major challenges, like sometimes we build up walls so high. And being a teacher and a parent, there's like a very fine line or like very high wall, which makes helping the kids or like both teams working together a bit more difficult. So that's one of the challenges. And of course, another is that the overwhelmingly high expectations, because kids, they're starting to like, unable to keep up. And another one is attention. This is a very big problem, especially for young age groups. Parents tend to give them a lot of screen time, which makes the brain of the kids ADHD like. They're so overly stimulated, and the moment they get boring, they get fidgety. So that is like one of the big problems, like screen time. So, and overly stimulating toys. So those are like one of the challenges. And maybe here, and in the Philippines, I would say it's about the same, because kids, when they have so much screen time, TV and all, they tend to have a very short attention span. So what we could do is like I said, back again, work with parents, tell them that this is affecting your child. Let's try to minimize it and help them in that direction. So when things get tough, you need to be tougher. And for me, when things get tough, go get some good supper. I mean, when it gets a bit difficult, try to have a good meal, and then realize that your life is much better than you think that it is. Be grateful for what you have, and realize and understand that this situation is temporary. You need to understand that whatever problem or whatever you're going through, it's temporary. and you will have better days ahead. So when you have that positive mindset, you would be able to move forward in your early childhood education career. With my experiences, being educator means I'm a mother, I'm a nurse, I'm an engineer, I'm a lawyer, I'm everything. Being an educator means that you are able to fill in these gaps. Trust me, our job gets a lot of thank yous. Yes, because we do a lot, we mean a lot, and whatever kind of generation we are building now will be the ones taking care of us when we are older. So the values we inculcate into them, the discipline, the learnings, all of this, all right, in early childhood as an educator or in education, the academics, they can be learned in primary or like in elementary. But in early childhood, being an educator means you develop the values that matter, like honesty, politeness, accountability, and having all this uh, being able to say sorry, trying to be more empathetic, all of this, they matter so much because when they move into that, once they have that grit, once they have that discipline, they understand all of these values or like they even practice it, they will have a better chance at the future with kids. Yeah. So that's it. And again, I am Miss Hannah or Miss Castro, Mrs. Banerjee, all of this. I am your early childhood educator, and yeah, I cannot wait for what's ahead of me, and I cannot wait for what's ahead of you too. Bye.